Welcome back to American Agenda. President Biden's approval rating continues to tank. As a recent Rasmussen poll shows, 56% of Americans disapprove of the president. So what will get him out of the hole that a lot of folks say he's dug himself into? Well, potentially the president's two-part $5 trillion spending plan, if that passes.
That's an ugly poll number, isn't it? The president's spending plan intends to bolster infrastructure, provide universal child care. Will that be enough to salvage the president's already smeared reputation? At least for now it is. Let's bring our panel back to discuss. Wanted to get your reaction also to a heated exchange between CNN's Jake Tapper and Senator Pat Toomey this weekend regarding whether the debt ceiling covers new or old spending. Listen.
Jake, can I cut you off? Jake, no, I'm going to cut you off right. That is totally factually false.
It's false?
It's factually false. Absolutely. There's all kinds of spending that is yet to be approved, including the huge $5 trillion bill that you were discussing with several guests earlier on this show.
Yes, of
course.
The
annual appropriation bill.
But raising the debt ceiling,
None of that's happened yet.
But it's about the spending that Congress has already approved. That's why we're hitting the ceiling, because that spending is happening.
No, Jake, I've just walked you through spending that has not yet occurred, but our Democrat colleagues want to engage in.
All right, before we get to that, Melanie, I asked you about the other, which is the poll looked really ugly. Does he recover from that?
I love these ugly polls. I'm enjoying these ugly polls. I actually squeal with delight every time I see an ugly poll, because we all know that a lot of these polls are skewed and that they tend to sample more Democrats and more liberals than they do independents and Republicans. So whenever I see almost any kind of political poll, I just kind of, subtract a couple points off of that, because, for that variance that is there. But I think it's going to be hard for him to recover. I think what the American people are really having an issue with is the incompetence. I don't think it's so much his agenda, although I do think that there are issues with that, because the socialists seem to really be running the Democratic Party right now. But I do think the incompetence that was shown in Afghanistan, the incompetence that's being shown at the southern border right now, the economy shows an incompetence and a grasp on what we should be doing in that area as well. I think all of those things combined has the American people worried, as it should.
Yeah, and Ford, it appears as we look at the numbers that he doesn't even have all of the Democrats on board either, because Nancy Pelosi has now had to push back this vote to Thursday on at least a portion of the infrastructure plan, and they're not sure that they can get through this $5 trillion in additional spending that they want to do, because it's not enough for some of the Democrats.
Well, look, Republicans have already won the House in 2022. The only question is by how much, and the reason's very simple. Because independents approve of Biden and his agenda at 37% in midterms or a referendum on the president's agenda. And it's not a wonder why, because of rising border crime, the Afghanistan disaster, what's going on at the border, decades of inflation. This $5.5 trillion spending bill is about transforming America into a European welfare state and destroying the economy and literally putting everyone in the poorhouse. This bill is about a Democratic legacy of turning America into a socialist state, and what Biden's hoping for, if they can pass it between now and then, he and Harris may be reelected, because Republicans will be too afraid to push back on these entitlements. And when you look at this bill, I think the most amazing thing is $3 billion for tree equity. I don't even know what that is.
Melanie, you want to add to that?
What on earth is tree equity? I mean, I can barely get over the equity that they're trying to give me on a regular basis for having brown skin, because everything is so woefully unequal for me as I stand here. But I don't understand what on earth tree equity is. I'm over the equity. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I think the tree equity has to do with, they're saying that people in disadvantaged communities don't have enough green space and parks, and therefore that leads to a rise in crime. And they tie it all into this human infrastructure or the Green New Deal and try to pass it under the guise of this infrastructure plan, as you were saying, Ford.
Yes, and this has absolutely nothing to do with the economy.
Yes.
This is all about pushing forward progressive pet projects, and they realize the clock is ticking because they're going to lose Congress.
Yeah, they want to give away child care, preschool, free community college. Melanie, it is a wish list, and that's what it should be called.
Yeah.
I have news for them. There's no such thing as human infrastructure. It is a made-up thing. It absolutely does not exist, and they need to stop pushing this foolishness.
Yeah, they're going to keep pushing it because there's a lot of foolishness out there, so they're going to push it. Ford O'Connell, Melanie, Collette, thank you so much for joining us. And coming up, we're going to check in with Alex Kramer and see what's making headlines on social media. Stay with us.